Hi there, my name is Mary, and I'm coming to you from the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. And today, we're going to talk about the sun. Now, I think we all take things for granted, but one of the things just about everybody takes for granted is the sun. And the sun is just so important in our lives. So, I have a book today called The Sun is Kind of a Big Deal by Nick Selleck. Now this book was published by Archie Books, and it tells us a lot about the sun. You can just see here center of everything is the sun, and these are the rest of the planets, all lined up around the sun. The sun is so central. So the sun is kind of a big deal. All of the planets and the sun live together in the solar system like a big family. The sun is our solar system's very own star. Seriously, the sun is an actual star. It's the only star in our solar system, and it sits right in the center, holding everything together, just like I showed you in that first picture. Here we are again, the sun and all of the other planets. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So what's in the solar system besides the sun and the planets? There are dwarf planets, 5 rocky bodies that are smaller than planets, asteroids, small rocky objects that move around between Mars and Jupiter in the asteroid belt. Now, if you look again, this is Mars and this is Jupiter. So they're going around in the asteroid belt between these two planets. Meteors, streaks of light created when pieces of space rock or metal speed into Earth's atmosphere. If you see a shooting star, it's actually a meteor. Comets, icy rocks that shoot through space and leave a trail of gas and dust. Aliens. Okay, maybe not, but we're always looking for them. Oh, hey, guess what? Our solar system is just one of many solar systems that exist. A galaxy is a group made up of billions of solar systems. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. There are billions of galaxies out there, and together they make up the universe. Can you count to 1 billion? Well, if we were going to count to 1 billion, we'd be here for a very long time. The sun is the biggest thing in the solar system. It's even bigger than Earth, way bigger, way, way bigger, like over 1 million times bigger. Now, there are much bigger stars than the sun, but all of the other stars you see are really, 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 really Really, the other stars are in totally different solar systems, and they have their own planets. Earth is the third planet away from the sun. Remember Earth? It's that little planet where you and everyone you know lives. Here we are again. The sun, the biggest thing in the solar system. And then we have Mercury, Venus, Earth. It is the 1, 2, 3rd planet from the sun. Pluto used to be a planet, but scientists decided it didn't quite fit the definition. Now it's called a dwarf planet. Sorry, Pluto. The planets move around the sun like a big racetrack in space. Each planet has its own special path that it follows, and it's called an orbit. Some planets are faster than others, but each one stays in its lane. So you can see, here's the sun again, and here are the other planets going in their orbits all the way around the sun. It takes a whole year for Earth to go all the way around the sun. Do you know how many times you've been around the sun? Hint. How old are you? So what does the moon do all year long? While Earth is going around the sun, the moon is spinning around the Earth. The moon goes around Earth 12 or 13 times in 1 year. That's about once a month, depending on where the moon is in its cycle. We might only see part of it. The rest of the moon is in shadow. When we see the whole thing, it's called a full moon. Here we go again. There's the Earth in the center. This is the moon in various stages. Right here is a full moon. And this is a new moon. So you can see when it's the brighter color, it's more of the moon is showing. The sun never stops working. It does a ton of important jobs for Earth. In fact, we wouldn't be around without the sun. Are you sure you need all of this from me? Look at his long list. Yes, every second of every day, please and thank you. Why is Earth so important? 2 words, plants and animals. That's 3 words. I'm still waiting on an autograph of the sun. The sun gives us light, so you can see. But it takes about 8 minutes for light to get to us because the sun is so far away. Earth spins around in a full circle every day. That's why when it's nighttime for you, it's daytime on the other side of the Earth. See, nighttime on this side, daytime on that side, because the sun is on that side of the earth. Oh, hey, guess what? As one side of Earth spins away from the sun, it looks like the sun is setting there, and it becomes night. As that side of Earth spins back toward the sun, it looks like the sun is rising. And you guessed it, breakfast time. The sun is always there, even when you can't see it. Sometimes it looks dark outside during the day because the sun's behind the clouds, but it's still there. Once in a while, it gets dark in the daytime because the moon gets in the sun's way. That's called a solar eclipse, and it only lasts for a little while. Keeping us warm is another really important part of the sun's job. The sun is hotter than you can imagine. Way hotter than fire. Way hotter. Its temperature reaches millions of degrees at the center. Some places on Earth are warmer than others. The parts of Earth closest to the equator are the warmest. The parts of the Earth closest to the North and South poles are the coldest. So the equator runs around the middle of the Earth, and that's warmer than the North Pole or the South Pole. Oh, hey, guess what? See that red line around the middle? That little red line right there? It's an imaginary line people invented. It's called the equator, but the line doesn't really look like that. It separates the top and bottom halves of the Earth. So now we know it's colder near the poles of Earth and warmer near the equator. But why? Well, the parts of Earth near the equator, right there in the middle, are getting the sun's heat from straight on. The North and South poles are getting the same amount of sunlight, but it gets spread out over a bigger area. Since these places have to share the sun's heat, they don't get quite as warm. While Earth is moving around the sun, it's spinning on a tilt. That's why we have seasons. There are 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Because of Earth's tilt, the top half and the bottom half of the world experience the seasons at different times. When the bottom half of Earth is tilted toward the sun, it's summer there. This also means that the top half of Earth is tilted away from the sun, which makes it winter there. It's just a little tilt, but it's enough to put this part of the world closer to the sun and this part tilted further away. The sun's work isn't done yet. Every day, the sun also has an important job in the water cycle. What happens during the water cycle? Heat from the sun causes water to mix with air, turning into vapor. That's called evaporation. Then the vapor gathers together to make clouds. That's called condensation. Finally, the water comes back down as rain or snow. That's called precipitation. The water cycle is important for all living things, but especially for plants. Plants need water and sunlight for photosynthesis. That's a big word, but it's also a really big job. Photosynthesis is when a plant uses light from the sun, water from the water cycle, and carbon dioxide from the air to make food for energy to help it grow. During photosynthesis, plants make oxygen. That's what animals and people need to breathe. Take a deep breath. You just breathed in a lot of oxygen. Oxygen doesn't have any taste, but it's always there. We can't live without it. If the sun wasn't helping out with photosynthesis, we wouldn't have oxygen. The sun is pretty great. It's always around, keeping the whole solar system together. And it gives us light and keeps us warm. It helps brings us rain and grows plants to produce the oxygen we breathe. It's such a big part of our lives that we wouldn't be able to live without it. The sun works really hard to help us out. That's kind of a big deal. So as you can see, the sun is kind of a big deal. We really couldn't live without it, but we often take it for granted. Now this book also has a glossary in the back, so you can see what all these big words like photosynthesis and condensation, what they mean. And then there are other facts. Why don't we read just one of them? Did you know some civilizations used to worship the sun? Some ancient civilizations believed the sun was a really big deal before they even fully understood it. Some Egyptian, Indo-European, and Mesoamerican people believed the sun was their ruler, giving them light, wisdom, and justice. People didn't know the scientific explanations for why certain things happened, but they knew the sun was a big part of it. They came up with all kinds of interesting stories about how things worked back then. For example, the ancient Greeks believed that the god Helios would pull the sun across the sky in a chariot every morning. So, you have these extra facts in the back of this book. And if you come to the library, you can find The Sun is Kind of a Big Deal by Nick Sullick, published by Orchard Books. And you can also find at the library, there are books about the solar system, other books about the sun, books about all these other planets and stars and asteroids. There's so many different things that you can read about. But today, it was the sun who was the center and the star of the show. So, thank you for joining us today, as we learned about the sun. My name's Mary, and I'm coming to you from the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. And I hope that you'll be back again to join us when we have another subject that we'll be learning about. Until then, bye-bye.